Why are we being silent, Stevie?
Well, it says scheduled. It doesn't say play.
It says live. Stevie,
Why does no?
Stevie,
mine doesn't.
How did you?
Mine seriously. I could take it. Oh, there it is. Dang it! I had a really okay. I'm still gonna do the intro.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah, now it's live on my own.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Steven Seagal podcast, where we talk all things Steven Seagal. Today, we're talking Steven Seagal and how I didn't shit myself. If you know anything about Steven Seagal, do you know?
I know a lot. Yeah, I know.
He is hilarious. JonTron. If you guys don't follow him on YouTube, go check out JonTron. That's JONTRON. He just did a show on Steven Seagal, and I've always known this dude is cocky, but God, go watch it. It's freaking hilarious. Steven Seagal. It's like you're like a B-list actor. You can't be this way. It's not. Anyway, I will say I like a few of his movies though, and it would be fun to meet him and just like, are you real? Are you real? You know,
I think he is real. That's the problem.
That's the thing. And anyways, guys, my name is Stevie Collier, and I am here with Grax Skull Crusher, the bearded. I don't know. I was going to say homosexual. This is not that kind of podcast.
This is not that podcast. Stevie.
It's the first thing my mind went to. And James, we're here with James, who I surprisingly haven't met. I thought I'd met him. I've seen his name everywhere, but we're talking JMD Reid, like to kill cockroaches. Reid.
As in to read books, yes.
Yeah.
Stevie, it's like the simplest name on earth. There is literally one syllable. How did you mess that up?
Well, just like all women, all the things women say to me is I make things hard. Wait, no. That sounds wrong. It's like I'm making guys hard.
Yeah.
Scratch the joke. Reverse. Okay, we're back. Never said that. Today we have another awesome podcast show. I want to thank Rebecca for taking my place while I struggled on the couch to survive. I am a complete wuss when I become sick, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't like being sick, and I just keep wanting to do stuff. And people are like, will you just relax? That's why you keep staying sick. So I'm back. Thank you, Rebecca. Really appreciate you. James, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Today we have an awesome podcast / show for you guys called Can We Ever Outrun Our Pasts? Like, can Stevie outrun his terrible jokes? And the answer is no, unfortunately.
That is the answer, yeah.
The answer is no.
150 episodes in, and the answer is still no.
150 episodes?
This is 154.
You're the longest relationship I've had, Andy.
I know. I am also the best thing in your life, but that's, again, a totally different sort of podcast.
Andy, I got beard disease from Andy. Go check out episode 1. I look like a baby. We're just talking about, this is the beard club, and then we might start a ball throw club. I'm not sure.
A what?
Don't make me say it again. Ball throw. Like a fro? Yeah, mound, like a mound.
That is a word that I've never heard before, so it took me a minute to recognize it.
I've watched
Stevie, how are you going off on these just like the weirdest directions?
I'm very tired. I've lost my mind. Writing today was difficult. Not difficult, but like I put my soul into it. So you're getting foundational Stevie. I'm working on fumes.
Right. You played too much today.
Seriously, my creative parts of my brains have malfunctioned now, and you're getting anyway. So we're gonna start out as we usually do, talking about something cool that's happened to us. But before that, and I always forget to do this, James, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a fantasy author. I live in Tacoma, and I am having a blast just writing my stories. Get them out there. Trying to find my audience. That's the hardest part about being an indie author. Yeah. I've had a strange path to being a writer in that I went to school to be a mechanical drafter, which has absolutely nothing to do with writing. And then I delivered pizzas through my 20s, which again, not much to do with writing. And then I ferried old people around on a shuttle. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this writing thing that I always wanted to do and ignored for a decade and a half of my life. And so, I started writing, and here we are today.
How long have you been writing for?
Well, I started writing in junior high, and I wrote
Okay.
terrible stuff through my teen years. And then,
Got
you become an adult, and suddenly adult responsibilities, and it just sort of slipped away from me, between World of Warcraft and delivering pizzas.
Oh, don't get me started on World of
Yeah,
Warcraft. Don't
I
get
was
me.
I was there, right from the beginning in Classic, back when I was like what, 23. So
Oh,
I had a lot of free time.
classic. Wait,
Yeah,
we're talking vanilla WoW, or you're talking about
vanilla,
classic? Okay,
vanilla. Wow.
how old were you when you played vanilla?
What, it came out in 2004, so I was 23.
I was 9. So I was playing World of Warcraft when I was 9. I played a hunter, and ooh, that was the first time I actually started talking to girls, which is a very sad thing to say. Private schools are the worst when it comes to learning to talk about girls.
Oh, well.
I'm a level 18 dwarf paladin. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I have to say, you and I could talk WoW all day, because I want to get back into it, honestly, which is like I want to start cocaine again, which
Yeah.
your friends never want to hear you say. It's like, I really want to get back into WoW and just
My
not do
roommate
anything productive.
my roommate keeps popping in, but he's runs his own business, so he doesn't have a lot of free time.
Oh, really? You said guns? He owns a gun business?
No, he owns an anime business, so he sells anime related merchandise.
Oh, heck yeah. I could live with you guys. I got anime on one side of the house and WoW on the other. It would just be a big weeb fest in there, I feel.
Well, when we were all playing WoW, it was that, yeah.
Amazing. Well, James, pleasure to meet you. I know we're going to have a really good show with you today. I think you already know kind of where this is going, so I hope Andy does not offend you in any way.
Sure.
So let's talk cool shiz that has happened to us. Andy, you always have something cool. Have you finished your 2 millionth word this week?
I have not. No,
Okay.
I'm still only on.
You're behind.
20,000, give or take, for the
Wow.
Is that a fake number, or are you just like being for real?
That's give or take.
Oh,
I mean, that's fine. 20,000 is a respectable number.
Yeah,
I took Monday afternoon off to do other stuff, actually to prepare stuff for the Deranged and Questing Dungeons and Dragons podcast. And then I am taking tomorrow afternoon off, so I'll probably end up at like 25,000 words this week. But the book will probably be one of the shorter ones in the series, maybe 80,000 words. So I should have it done hopefully by next week.
Awesome,
cool, man. Hey, that is awesome. We hired a $4,000 business guy for Green Blob Outdoors just to go through the whole business and tell us what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. And he said, "Hey, Stevie, I have like 10 minutes. Do you want to just like talk life, talk business?" And I told him everything that I was doing. He goes, "Stevie, I hate to tell you this, but you're doing too many things. I'm like, I know. I just, he's like, you have the entrepreneurial spirit. You just start so many businesses. And he's Russian, but now I'm making him Italian. But well, that's cool, man. So Andy, you'll be finished with the book next week.
Hopefully, if all goes well. If not, the week afterward. But again, that's still a pretty good time frame.
Cool. James, what about you, man? Any good raids?
No good raids. I haven't played WoW since 2010.
But,
yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, I had a job that consumed my time, but
I got you.
I finished the final novel of my third book series 2 weeks ago, and I just finished the first rewrite on it today, in fact, on the book one. So yeah.
Awesome. How many words do you write a day?
It depends. 2,500 to 5,000 on my fantasy novels.
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit for me.
2,500 to 5,000, depending on the day.
Oh, very nice. Oh man, y'all've got like good news book related stuff. That's not fair. For me, my good news is that I have been putting down consistent wordage, if I can say wordage. I'm at 8,000 words, which is good for me. That's 2,000 words a day.
Nice.
So I do like 300 words an hour, and that gives me time to. It takes me about 5-7 minutes. I've timed it to do 300 words, and then I go answer emails. I work on the website and stuff like that, and it allows me to hit a 2,000 mark consistently every day. So that's good news.
Awesome.
Another thing is I'm working on a kids book. I'm not a big fan of traditionally published stuff, but I've always wanted to write something like Goosebumps or another book series called American Chillers. I've always loved that stuff, even as an adult. So I'm considering a lot of different ideas, and I'm just asking myself now, can I pull it back to a PG rating? And I think I can. I just will have to show it to people besides myself before I send it to literary agents. But the good thing about being an author is you do have connections to literary agents. Someone, like James, Andy, and I, we've been doing this for a while. We have connections within the community. I don't think it's going to be super hard to get a literary agent, but I'm not doing this for the money, which is my good news for the week. I want to write a project that just for me, something I actually emailed R.L. Stine when I was very little, and I got an email response back. And he was like, keep going. And I was like, I will keep doing it, Mr. Stein. So that was, it's definitely a pendulum. It's a part of your life that really pushes you towards a certain direction. And getting an email from R.L. Stine was definitely one of them, which I lost. So there's no proof. But, it's like one of those, it was a Yahoo Messenger email. You remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
Hit that buzz button. Remember the buzz?
Yeah. I mean, did they have a GeoCities website at the time?
A what?
GeoCities. Is that a little too old for you?
Way older than Yahoo Messenger. That's real OG.
What is that? GeoCities?
GeoCities. That's where you used to do your blogs back in the day.
GeoCities. Is that the black background websites?
Probably. That'd be terrible 90s websites.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know what? There's a certain romance to those nowadays, and they have a few that are still up. If you go on what is it, the Wayback Machine or whatever.com, you can go look at like how scholasticbooks.com was. Or anyway, this is not for that show, but we could I don't know what GeoCities is, so
you're just too young. You're just too young to know, Stevie.
I'm too young and strapping. So awesome. Well, I guess, guys, we can just head right into today's topic, which is, can we ever outrun our past? Very interesting. Very interesting.
Before we do that, Stevie,
okay,
we have a question from the audience, and that question is that Zoro's white katana?
Oh, this is not Zoro's katana. However, I have his katana. So, in fact, I have a little toy of him somewhere that I got. Zoro is my favorite character on One Piece, by the way. Fun fact. And I promise I won't go into Ghost of Tsushima, which is by far where I want to. Like, I just wish I could just connect with that world and just be there forever. But Jin Sakai is voiced by Zoro. And when I heard that, I'm like, I've died and gone to heaven. I mean, this game has everything that I want.
One Piece. I was when I was in Tokyo Tower was One Piece themed at the time. They had a One Piece cafe with One Piece inspired dishes. It was interesting.
James, you are impressive. Yeah. That's not. Why were you in Tokyo?
Went with my friends on vacation. Oh, and a buying trip, because my roommate, he sells anime stuff, so we go to all the back end shops and buy the stuff cheap.
I've heard of people do that. People doing that. Chad Zimmerman, who has a Japanese YouTube channel about learning Japanese, he goes and he buys a lot of manga and brings them back. I'm like, man, it sounds like a big hustle with weight, and but they make profit. They make consistent profit. So,
I mean, you spend, the shipping's expensive. Back when there was shipping to Japan.
Oh yeah,
it's all freight ship now, not now air.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because there's no flights from the North America, because Japan is, banned us all.
Banned us all. I would too. Andy, any more questions from the audience?
No, that was it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, today we're learning if we can or cannot outrun our past, which I think I've actually touched on in a few of my books. James, is this your idea, or did you formulate it with Andy?
Well, I mean, I told him a bit what my book was about, and it was his idea to go with this topic. But it's a major part of Secret of the Jewels, the series we're talking about today.
Why don't you tell us what this theme has to do with your book? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. So, we have two main characters in Secret of the Jewels, Oben and Avina, and both of them have issues from their past, guilt that they're holding on to. One of the characters is taking on blame for actions that really aren't her fault, but that she believes they are, and they haunt her because it was still really terrible stuff that happened. And it's just she needs to learn, she can let go of what her past is. But the other character, Oben, he has actually done something absolutely terrible in that he murdered someone, and it broke him. Like, he was like a really honorable guy. He thought he was that sort of person, and then in this very low moment, when he couldn't let go of a woman, he killed his what would you call it, the rival for her affections, and he killed him in a duel. So it was an actual, like, legit killing. Like, he wasn't in trouble. It wasn't murder, but it still destroyed him because he didn't think he was really that sort of person. And then 2 years later, he's at his lowest point when we pick him up in the novel. He is fallen in with bandits. He doesn't care about anything because he doesn't see himself as someone worthy of, redemption, of, anyone caring about him. So he doesn't care about himself any longer. But there's one person in his band of bandits that sort of does care about him, tries to, kind of pull him out. And when that person gets mortally wounded because Oben in the first chapter didn't care enough to really hustle in with the other guys when they attacked, his friend gets mortally wounded, and it snaps him out of it. And he realizes, had he tried something, his friend wouldn't be dying. And now he's trying to fight to save his life. And that starts him coming out of the mire, trying to, reminding what he used to be and seeing if he can escape his past and become someone better, or if ultimately it will drag him down.
So would you say, I mean, it's a tougher question to answer, I feel. Would you say that, he can outrun his past?
It's more that he needs to come to accept that he did something terrible, but that doesn't mean he has to do something terrible today. That he can become a better person. He can do something better. He can make the world, he's alive, so he has a chance to do good. And it's a choice, right? You can choose to let yourself get mired in the depression, in the self-hatred, or you can try to, do something with your life that matters, that helps other people, that does some good. And that's kind of what his choice is in the book. It's not, he can never escape, but that guilt's always going to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's whether or not he lets it destroy him or lets it inspire him to be a better person.
Now I have to sort of take this to the real life modern society kind of thing. You have people who get out of prison, right? And their criminal record follows them for the rest of their lives. And it definitely sort of casts a shadow over their lives to the point where they can never really get back to it. In this story that with this Oben guy, does he have something like that following him, or is it all like internal, the past that's following him?
So he's on the other side of the world. So no one where he's currently at knows unless he tells them.
So it's all in his mind.
Yeah. And like I said, it was done in a legitimate duel. So it was his rival accused him of a crime, and he defended himself because he killed his rival, trial by combat. It proved his innocence. But he didn't kill him in a very honorable way, let's just say. Because there's some, so this goes to a short story I wrote a couple years ago called Duel, Dual, which is kind of, which sounds like duel, which is what it initially is about. And that's where these two guys go on they go on their they face each other on the sands, and they're just about to start their fight. They just start trading some blows, and Oben, he's the guy that is a really skilled swordsman. The guy he's up against is everyone knows he's going to die, but he's not willing to drop this. And then an earthquake happens.
I read that one.
Yeah, and then an earthquake happens, drops them into the earth, and they gotta help each other, and they talk, and they kind of have to bond a bit. But at the end, Oben can't let go of the girl, and he acts after they both helped each other get to safety. And so that's really why it destroyed him. It wasn't necessarily they killed him in duels. They killed him after they had kind of had this coming together, and he just was so crazy about this girl, he just couldn't let her go.
So the guy he kills, it's his girl.
It's both their girl. She's like double timing them.
Oh, I got a new theme for today's podcast. Just kidding.
Yeah, but like, so he's the prince. So like, Oben was dating this girl, like they're childhood sweethearts. But then she was like, I want to be queen. So she was going after the prince, but she still wants her hot guy because the prince isn't hot. And so she was playing them. And anyways, it's a big complicated thing. And they ended up with them in sort of a fight that neither one of them really understood the girl and, you know, what she was actually about and stuff.
Oh, you know what this reminds me of? Have you seen the Saw movies?
I've seen the first one.
Oh man, you got to watch the 70th one.
The 70th one.
The 70th one.
I am not a fan of Porch Report, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I watched the first one is like the most subtle, but there is a scene where a girl's playing two guys and like they could either kill the other dude or they can just kill her, and they come to realize that, oh, she's been cheating on both of us. It's just like,
it's actually kind of that scene. It's like that's kind of what they both kind of realize, and just one of them was like, I can let her go, and the other one was like, I can't. And
and then the protagonist is the one who can't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is 2 years later after his guilt destroyed the relationship with the girl because he couldn't be happy with her because of what he did. And even though she goes with him to the other side of the world, in the end, like he's so lost in depression that she moves on because she gets away. Yeah, she's still around. She's actually the protagonist of the series I just wrote, which is her dealing with her guilt over destroying these two men.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You deal with some pretty, and I feel like that would be a difficult theme for me to write in personally. I could do it, but I don't know. Mine would be too funny, I feel. But I have to ask you I just don't think I could do it justice. And that's just me being honest with myself. But James, craft question. So we have this protagonist who has done something really naughty, and we learned this in the beginning of the book, right?
It's kind of there in the beginning, like know he's done it. If you've read the short story, obviously you would actually know.
Okay.
So.
How do you get the reader to relate? So we have I think it's called the kill the cat or save the cat. You know, how do you do that?
The friend who gets mortally injured. That's what it happens right in the beginning. And so he's actually trying to save him, and his bandit leader is a real dick. And his bandit leader's like, just kill him. He's slowing us down. Oh. And so there comes a point where he stands up to his bandit leader and said, no, we're going to fight to keep this guy alive. So he is trying to save his wounded friend. And Avina, our female protagonist, she is also there. She's actually one of the people that gets captured by them, but she's a healer by training. And so she's like, I'm going to save this guy, even though he came here to mess us up. So I hope that kind of works to kind of endear the readers that it unites these two characters on the same goal of trying to save someone's life. And
that would do it for me. Anyway, so is there just a fun like random question? Is there magic in this series or no? There's okay. The magic's kind of technology based. It's called, I call them jewel machines or jewel sheens, in that they have jewels. They have jewels, and there's like 7 different colored jewels, and each one has its own sphere of influence. And so they're just kind of in like they're kind of like in the Industrial Revolution with this now, that they're starting to figure out how to really use this to, make factories and make weapons and
So there is like our main character has what's called a resonance blade, and it can cut through anything except for magical shields and other resonant blades. So it makes fun fighting where, you can cut a sword in half, but that other end of that blade might still stab you. So you got to be careful how you use it. But, it can, no armor in the world's going to save you from it. So, yeah,
it kind of reminds me of the weapons in Guild Wars 2. I don't know if you played that before.
No, I never played Guild Wars 2.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. Well, Andy, I'm sure you have some adult stuff to say about this theme.
Well, yeah, it sort of goes back to my question of like this is probably one of the biggest debates about the current, correctional system is the criminal record that it follows them the rest of their life. And it's sort of you kind of have to ask that question of, can people ever outrun their past in that sense? Because it's like,
yeah,
that criminal record isn't supposed to affect your ability to get a job, but everybody knows that it does. The minute that they, you check yes on that criminal record thing, it's going to affect your chances of getting a job, no matter, even if you apply at McDonald's.
Yeah, we have to decide if our justice system is punishment or rehabilitation.
Exactly. And I think that a lot of the discussion around it right now is that it's really, really focused on the punishment side of things instead of being rehabilitation. And I think like the whole prison industrial complex, all of the debate around that is people saying we're just basically churning these people through the mill that is prison and just making life so much worse for them. And of course, there's all the conspiracy theories about, who the prison system's targeting and all of that, which may or may not be true. But it's like the people who go through it, they serve their time. The whole point is that once they finish the period of time that they're supposed to serve, they're out, they're free, they've sort of paid their debt to society by spending those years locked up. And yet afterward, it's almost like life gets harder for them. And I think that's why recidivism, which is people getting locked up again, I'm explaining that for Stevie's sake, it's so high in so many places because people, they just can't find anything afterward. And that's one area where the past really just keeps haunting and chasing them kind of for the rest of their lives, whether, unless they start their own business and they, they don't have to apply for an interview or anything where they're going to be asked that question. But even, a bank loan, I think it may or may not come up in some banks. So it's like, it is. And I like what you said about, is it about punishment or rehabilitation? And I think making that shift towards rehabilitation could, lead to large scale improvements. Now there's always going to be the kind of people who just, who go into the system to serve, to make the most of it. Or, like the people who get arrested to sort of prove how badass they are, that's a totally different kind of person. But for like people who are just trying to get on with their lives, it does really follow them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Everything I've heard about the correctional facilities in America is just like, it doesn't work. If you're interested in someone who went to prison in, I believe, the 80s or 90s, it's America's most successful jewel thief, Larry Lawton.
I've watched some of his stuff.
God,
I
love
a great
him.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, you know what? I was watching him when he had 10,000 subscribers, and I just got addicted. And I listened to every. So he does a reading of his audiobook, and I listened to the whole thing. I bought his book signed. I really enjoyed it because I was doing a scene in book 2 of I Am Mech or Metal Fury, and it was about prison. So I was like, it's like, this has to be made up. This has to be made up. And that's just how it is. And it's really sad and scary, honestly. It's like, how do you fix it? And Larry kind of goes into these things. And the big thing he says with drugs is to just make them all legal. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then he goes into detail about it. He's like, well, then now the drug dealers, they have nothing, and what is it like? Switzerland has places you can go get, legal doses of heroin done, like your daily dose. And then you go on with your day.
I don't know. They have that in Seattle. But...
Yeah, we have it in America where you can go get, like what's oxycodone?
They're called safe injection sites.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that until I started watching Larry Lawton. It's almost unbelievable to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a libertarian, so I'm for, anything that's nonviolent. I really don't. You don't need to be sending people to prison over that stuff.
I took a test in school, and I turned out to be right libertarian, which was cool.
Yes,
I didn't.
And anybody who looks at you would immediately question whether that was true, Stevie.
Wait, is
sarcasm.
It the beer?
Everything about you screams.
It might be the man bun.
Yeah. It might be the man bun.
Yeah.
This does not go well in South Texas, by the way. It just does not. it does not go well. It's just like old men look at me like I'm just insane. Like, yeah, I don't think you can help me. It's sad. But yeah, the correction facilities in America are yikes. And, Lisa and I are starting a podcast about crime fiction, or not crime fiction, but actual crimes, because that's Lisa's favorite thing in the world, is just horrible, horrible things. And I can't stand it.
You mean listening to a podcast or recording a
podcast?
No,
we're recording one. Like
you're cheating on me, Stevie?
I have been cheating on you like every night with a girl. Her name's Lisa.
We both know that every night is an absolute exaggeration. But I mean, like as a podcast.
Sexually, it is that. You know what? What am I doing? You're gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna get me in trouble. I didn't say anything. Andy, take it away. James, that's what I say whenever I've talked myself into a hole, as I'll say it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do have a theme where, can we outrun our pasts? And a common theme that I like to add in my books are the main character is usually he starts out as a coward. He's weak, but then he just kind of does something brave just because he just can't stand it anymore. Yes. And I think it's an interesting idea. Yeah, we do something wrong, but what if we don't do anything at all? And then we're living with that guilt. Is that one that we can get over faster than an actual bad deed? And then can we solve these things with deeds alone? Or I think what you said was right, that we'll always live with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a huge punt. For me, my parents always said, you don't have to punish Stevie. He punishes himself. Because I always got really down on myself whenever I did bad on a test. It's called high expectations. I don't. Yeah. A lot of people. But yeah, so we have, when we think we outrun our past, we think things that we did that were bad, but what about things we didn't do? What things that we should have done? And then
regrets, right?
Yeah. Even that's subjective. Should you get in the middle of a fight, to save someone? Is that your job? Do you even know the whole story behind that argument? I don't know. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
But I like to in the endings of my stories, I like to think they did outrun the past, but of course they'll always have that scar.
Yeah, I like the idea of atonement. It's something that comes up in a lot of my stories in the sense that you do something bad. It's not that you can ever erase that stain, right, of the bad action,
right?
But almost like the karmic balance of the good that you've done in life outweighs the bad. And that's, it's sort of this never ending pursuit of betterment, sort of like, personal development or mindfulness, all of these things that we as a society sort of value or, promote. But by doing that, by striving for that sense of betterment to, bring balance, it sort of makes the world a better place. And I think that, that's sort of, I feel in a way, my approach to life too. It's not about, being perfect. It's not about, achieving some, objective where, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, I changed the world. But just as long as that my life is leaving there's more positivity for my existence than there was before I was born. And that's sort of the definition of a life well lived for me personally, at least. That's how I act.
So leaving the world a little bit better of a place than when you came into it.
Yeah. That's always
okay.
Important.
Rebecca said something interesting. It says you can't change.
Can you give me one moment? I forgot to plug my laptop in and my battery's about to die.
Yeah, sure.
Are you good, man?
And now my camera's going all over the place. Okay, there we go.
Rebecca said you can't change, the actions of your past the same way you can't change your hair color, right? You can't change your natural hair color, but you can change the way people perceive it through your actions. And it's sort of like, what's his name? Jaime Lannister, right?
Right. Yeah.
Jaime Lannister at the very beginning of the Game of Thrones, he did something absolutely terrible. And I think he kind of keeps doing more terrible stuff throughout the first season or two. But by the end, his actions, he's done enough that the viewer, especially, their perception of him has been colored. That if they'd actually given him a proper ending, like a good writer would have, you would have walked away. I
assume Martin will give him a good ending because he's a good writer.
Exactly. But so by the time we get to that ending, we will have sort of shifted perspective, or the positive that he will have infused into the world through his actions or inactions will just fractionally outweigh the negative enough that we'll be like, all right, in the end, we're okay with Jaime Lannister as a human being. He was a total dick in the beginning, but he kind of made up for it enough that we're not hating him. We're not dancing on his grave, essentially.
Yeah, it's he pretty much crossed the moral event horizon, and Martin somehow brought him back. It was well done.
I was going to say, Andy, I thought you were going to say like, he was just redeemed. And I was going to say, well, not to me, and then you said that it was just colored. And I was like, okay, yes, because he did change my opinion. I hated Jaime. I hated, honestly, I get so emotional in shows. Like I have to pick and choose what I watch. I still haven't finished Game of Thrones because it hurts me. It hurts me to listen to it. And it gives me anxiety. But I did feel a little bit softer towards Jaime by the middle of the show. But never will I be like, oh, I wouldn't care if he died.
No, so like at the end, if Cersei was doing mad shit, she was gonna order the dragon fire stuff, whatever that was called, the big barrels of green flame to destroy all of the people of King's Landing to prevent Daenerys from taking it and winning the war. And Jaime was the one who went and killed her and stopped her. That would be sort of an act that you would be like, all right, in the end, he did the right thing, and I can be okay with where he ended up. Definitely not where he started out. Like Rebecca said, you have to make restitutions, and if you are sorry for those actions, you might end up dying, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, in the end, he made the right choice, or he would have, made the right choice hypothetically had he actually done this. And that would have been like, I don't know, for me as a viewer who's followed him throughout 7 seasons, I would have felt like, all right, in the end, Jaime did the right thing, and I can be okay with that.
Yeah, I would. I haven't finished it. I would say that. Now, I think there gets a point, personally, my opinion, that you just can't go back, and that was that little kid, whatever his name is.
Joffrey.
And he did such a good job, like he quit acting for a while just because he got so much hate. Which is really sad, but I would say Joffrey for me wouldn't have been able to come back. But that's just me. I was definitely in the crew that really hated this guy. So
by the crew, you mean the entire world?
Okay, I was just making sure.
Him and Ramsay, they were the two. They were two of the greatest villains in recent history. You've got like Dolores Umbridge, right? Who gets way more hate than what's his name? Voldemort, right? Voldemort's a bad guy, straight up. But Dolores Umbridge is just the worst kind of evil. And so in the same way, you've got Ramsay Bolton and Joffrey. Both of those people, they're just distilled horrible. And they're so great to hate. And in a way, having a character like that is an achievement in and of itself.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can do it. I tend to put too much human into my characters. I don't know. Even my bad guys. Well, I guess I had a bad guy that went pretty damn far in my Storm Below series. It was pretty satisfying to kill him.
The main bad guy?
He was not. He was just like, how to describe it? He was just it's a complicated story. He was just he wasn't a main bad guy. He was just He was someone that wanted to research my main character's powers and did really terrible things to him. And it was very satisfying to have my main character beat him to death at the end of that novel.
Ooh, yeah, the Umbridge thing. I totally forgot about her and my hatred for that woman. And Andy, I think we've actually talked about her before on this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we kind of took her apart as to why she was a villain.
One of the greatest villains, I would say, in the last 20 years, in the sense that she was not all powerful. She was not distilled evil, right? I mean, like in the way we perceive her is, but it's not like she was an evil person. She is simply a petty person abusing her position of power and privilege and inflicting harm on a child, and just sort of all the things that we as a society just absolutely hate. We can look at someone who is punching someone else in the face and we might not act, right? But when you see someone doing all of the things that Dolores Umbridge did, it's just like it just grates on you in just the worst possible way. And that's why she is such a great villain, is because they J.K. Rowling tapped into just these things that we hate. It's sort of like going to, sit at any government office. Your frustration slowly builds and slowly builds and slowly builds as you're just waiting for hours and hours and hours. And then the person sitting behind the desk, you take all that anger to the desk, and then they say, "Oh no, I can't help you." And it's just like, they are the worst.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Dolores Umbridge kind of portrayed. That's who she was as a person. And that's I think what made her so great. But anyways, we need to get to the reading because we are running out of time.
I actually have it.
All right.
So James, we've got Avina and Oben, and then this Oost. Anybody else?
There's Weiner Craig, and I think that's probably the only one with a weird name, and maybe Dulaine.
Okay. Do you have a character that you want to read, or do you want to do the narration?
Oh, I need to open that up, don't I? Hold on. I wasn't expecting to have to do this. Sorry. I thought you guys were going to do the reading. So we're good thing I have my laptop in front of me.
We are on it's chapter 4 of Diamond Stained.
Okay, yeah. I guess I can do the narration if you want.
All right. Stevie, do you want to do Avina and Oben, and I'll do the other random voices?
Sure. Avina is a woman, and a little bit about her. Is she old? Is she young?
She's young, like 20.
Okay, and Oben is, who's that?
He is the male character, so he's like 23.
Okay, is he pretty masculine, or he's just like
he's pretty masculine.
Okay, yeah, I can do that, Andy.
Okay, let me just get to chapter 4.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
Take it away.
All right, so this is chapter 4 of Diamond Stained. Oost's words offended Avina. She hadn't spent a sleepless night attending to Karsten to let him die. She'd woken up time and time again to give him fortified tea and honey, nursing him through the night while Oben snored, oblivious to the world. The weariness she felt vanished in a flash of hot black. The dark flames kindled in her. Anger went against patience and compassion. It led to harm, self-control. Right now, she didn't care.
You are not about to put down my patient,
she hissed as she leaped off the side of the wagon, uncaring that her skirt flared up and flashed stocking-clad ankles. She landed on her heeled boots in a crunch of hard soil and crinkling pine needles.
Have you no compassion coloring your heart? Huh? Is it too black to have any orange bleeding through?
She came up alongside Oben and faced the odious Oost.
You sure you want to do this?
Oben asked, his voice quiet. Avina gave a fierce nod, a lock of her brown hair sliding over the scarlet blazing in her fair cheeks. She glared at the bandit leader with the intensity of the summer sun beating upon an uncovered head. She did not care that he stood a cubit taller than her and weighed easily 50 or more stones. She didn't care about the foul Tetherian roots staining his bristling beard with a look of murder gleaming in his bloodshot eyes.
Huh?
She demanded.
You think you can just mete out life and death? That you're above the judgment of Elam?
Frustration at the entire situation boiled through her.
Just attacking us. You could have spoken to us, asked us to meet with this boss that has you pissing your britches like a runt cowering before his littermates.
Runt!
Snarled Oost, his sword twitching in his grip, muscles bulging in his forearm.
Yes, runt.
She hissed.
Just barking and barking, trying to look tougher than all these dangerous men around you.
Oben arched an eyebrow beside her, his entire body tense in a fashion of a man prepared to commit violence.
Put that sword away so we can continue on to your boss, and maybe, just maybe, your friend will survive.
She continued.
Then you'll have someone you can easily bully, a cripple.
The bandit sniggered.
Who did that?
Hook snarled, rounding on the others while a dangerous shade of puce suffused Oost's cheeks, bleeding through his thick beard in spots.
Huh?
Oost's arms tensed.
You know she's his daughter.
Oben said, his voice cool like a dark shadow on a hot day.
Don't want to hurt her. Lose out on the ransom for the boss.
Oost's grin grew.
Won't hurt a single hair on her head. Now Karsten, he...
Osen's gloved fist slammed into Oost's jaw. Avina gasped at the blur of violence as Oben followed it up with a low blow to the bandit leader's guts. Oben had had enough. The night before, he slept without nightmares. Now life stirred in him again. Concern, not for himself, but Karsten. He took responsibility for his friend. He wouldn't let the bullying, strutting, swaggering, tone-deaf Oost swell his ego by stealing away Karsten's chance for life, to breathe, to love, to mourn, to have all the experiences Oben had squandered away since the mines. Two faces flashed through his mind, a man shocked in betrayal, a woman masked in lies. His third blow, a hard right hook, sent Oos falling to the ground. Oos landed on his back. Blood spilled from a broken nose down to chapped lips. He tightened his grip on his back sword's hilt. The toe of Uben's boot slammed into Oos' head. The crack echoed down the road. The blade tumbled from the bandit leader. His mouth open in a pain-filled shout. Oben felt awakened from his shadowed stupor. He had just existed since leaving Guerrero, since leaving her behind. Black strangled his heart, but the grip of compassion had pried those dark fingers enough to let him feel the pulse of life again, to remember it.
You black-cursed roach!
Who snarled, voice nasally.
I'll gut you and...
A wild shout, raw and ragged, burst from Oben's throat as he slammed his boot into Oost's guts. Air exploded from his lungs. Oben lifted his foot up and crashed it down into the middle of Oost's stomach again. The fleshy impact brought a curling smile at the corner of Oben's lips. He reveled in this moment. He'd eaten so much dirt from Oost. The blood fire was just the most recent life Oben had spilled in his apathetic haze.
Sorry. Dirt-skinned bastard!
Hissed Hook, the only bandit to rush to Oost's defense. Stone's face paled. The huge man took a step back. Weiner Craig grinned, wiping at his runny nose. Handsome Bell's split lip peeled back. Others trembled, looking wild-eyed as Hook charged in, raising his rusted namesake. Oost seized the slashing appendage in a black-gloved hand. Leather creaked as he twisted. A buckle snapped. Hook gasped as Oben wrenched the rusty implement from the stump of the sniveling bootlapper's arm, a broken strap dangling from the stiff cuff. He slammed the hook into its owner's face, cutting open the old man's brow with a sharp tip. Hook reeled back and tripped over Oos, wheezing on the dirt. Hook fell hard. Oben threw the rusted metal into the bush and stared at the other bandits.
Someone cut off his damned head!
Panted Oos, struggling to rise. Oben kicked him in the temple.
Double pay!
Groaned Oost, a knot swelling. Weiner Craig laughed louder and rushed forward. The skinny man crossed the distance with a confident strut, hand reaching for his blade. Oben rested his gloved hand on the pommel of his tulwar, staring at the bandit.
Bugger this!
Craig muttered, halting.
He killed that bloodfire. You handle him, Oost.
You still think it's a good idea to put one of us down?
Oben asked, staring down at the wheezing Oost, blood flowing down his cheek and matting his side whiskers.
pus-filled, dirt-stained cockroach!
Oos spat bloody phlegm at Oben. It landed before his boot. Oben slid his hand down to grip the handle.
Well, Oost, you're wounded. I could put you down. You don't want to go through life with a bent nose.
Whiner Craig cackled.
Y'all should wear skirts and have dolls tucked under your arms.
Oos snarled, sitting up.
Cowards all! He's one man! You don't pay that much.
Said handsome Bale.
Keep the bastard alive!
Snarled Oost as he rose, an acrid stink rising from him.
He can pound your arse in the dark for all I care.
He wiped blood from his nose and looked at his men.
What are all you useless runts doing? You can change the piss from your britches when we camp. Move! Only one of us pissed his britches.
Whiner Craig said. Oos glowered at him. Oben relaxed as the others turned and headed down the dirt road, while pale-faced Stone helped Hook stand. Oos marched ahead, his shoulders tight, embarrassment stiffened every muscle. He stamped forward, splashing through a puddle, kicking up mud. A weight fell from Oben. He was done with Oos and his bandits. He'd wished he'd shaken off the shadows and left long ago. It was easier staying. Following orders, he didn't have to think, only wallow. Avina nodded beside him, satisfaction painted across her exposed face. She glanced at him.
You know he's not my father.
Oben frowned.
Dualin? But you call him that.
She looked away.
We should go.
Before he could ask another question, she scrambled back up onto the wagon, using the wheel as a ladder. As she climbed, her skirt rode up, flashing the petticoat she wore and the dark brown stockings cladding her calves. She shoved her skirts down as she righted, her cheeks flaring pink. He shook his head.
Shows her face, but flashing some legs makes her blush.
Oben feared he'd never understand these pale people. Lithonians, Ondarians, and Rhodanese were all mad. Worse than the Tetherian immigrants he was always mistaken for. Grunting, he climbed back into the wagon and followed the bandits, sniggers and laughs echoing behind Oos's back. Oben couldn't help the smile. It felt good to finally knock the blustering fool on his backside.
Very fun. I do love a good bandit scene.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I have to ask. So you capitalize the words of the colors. Is that intentional for like? Is that like the magic
that has to do with the religion in this land? So
okay,
they see Elam, and Elam has his 7 colors, and each color represents a certain virtue. So orange is compassion, yellow is patience, blue is temperance. Whereas Oben, who's from the other side of the world, he sees the world as existing of these harmonious tones that kind of represent the same thing and kind of don't. But each of them are all tied in with the jewels and how they work. And so it's all these various belief systems all kind of come out of how the magic works. And different cultures see the magic in different ways. And some worship it, some honor it, and some, think of it as sort of like an ethos. Yeah.
Did you say what green was? I'm just curious now.
Green is forgiveness.
Green is forgiveness.
Whereas for Oben, green is strength. Like the mountains specifically.
Okay.
He comes from a mountain kingdom, so they're very, very much in the mountains.
That's really in depth. So the colors can change by region.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I wouldn't have thought to do that. I would have. It's really what's the word, meta almost, like I feel like I would have put the colors in like bigger and like everyone, it's just like this universal thing, but I like your idea better. It gives more depth to it, I feel.
What's purple, James?
Purple is modesty.
Man, this guy knows everything about the color.
Because purple is the color that's for protection. So it makes shields. People use them to lock their doors or saves. You can also use them in this book. There's what's called a binder, which is like a club, but you hit them and it wraps like a purple shield around someone, and instead it kind of binds them and imprisons them. So yeah.
Interesting.
Very cool. Yeah, I like the idea of colors. I use colors a lot in my books too. So that immediately stood out to me. Well, awesome. James, thank you so much for being with us today. I think that's all we have for today's show. You have to tell people, though, where they can find you, follow you, and get a lock of your beard.
Yes. So I have a Facebook reader group called Fantastic Worlds of the Imagination. And we post fun polls and games and stuff there and talk about fantasy. I publish obviously on Amazon under JMD Reid. You can find Diamond Stain, the book we just read, and the entirety of the Secret of the Jewels series. It's all out now. And it's in Kindle Unlimited for those who have that. I'm on Twitter at JMD Reid, and my blog is jmd-reid.com.
Very cool. Now, James, one last thing that we spring on our guests by surprise. It's a question. Whoa. It's sort of at the Fantasy Fiends podcast, we try to go for a little bit of pith. So this is to sort of end it on a pithy note. The question is, what do you think are 2 vital habits or traits for a successful human? Not a successful author, but a successful human being.
Empathy. Yeah. If you cannot see others as humans, if you can't try to understand them and see where they're coming from, you're only going to get conflict.
Empathy and one more.
Okay. Forgiveness, because it is what lets us get past mistakes. It lets us, when the criminal has paid his crimes and is sincere in his desire to return to society and be, a productive member, we as society should forgive that person. Because otherwise nothing changes. He, as you said, recidivism, like he gets put in a situation that forces him into doing bad things to survive. And so, so empathy and forgiveness.
I like it.
Andy, when did we start doing this? I love it.
Last episode.
Oh, wow. It's a really good idea.
Thank you.
I was going to say, James, those are really great answers. And then I was going to say, it's funny that those are the things most people in the world lack, but I honestly think a lot of people have it and we don't give enough people credit for it. That's just me trying to see it from a positive side, but I do think many, many more people could take from what you just said. Wow. That's going to be something I meditate on later.
All right.
Empathy and forgiveness. Andy, did you have answers for that?
No, that's we asked the question, the guest answers, and that's where it ends. So thank you guys so much for joining us on the Fantasy Fiends show. Those of you who are watching via Twitch, those of you who are watching from YouTube, Facebook, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back Monday night with another episode of Deranged and Questing, the Necromancer's Idiot Apprentice, and we are going to a swamp to go visit a death druid in a death circle. Not at all ominous. Nothing bad is going to happen at all. It's going to be fun. We're going to have our very own favorite guest host and live viewer, Rebecca, playing someone who may or may not be modeled exactly after Stevie Collier. So,
what?
That was her idea. She's like, I'm just going to play Stevie. She may have changed ideas, but it was such an awesome idea that I was like, run with it. So we'll see who she comes up with. But on Monday night, we'll be back at 6:00 Pacific time for another episode of Deranged and Questing.
I don't know if it's going to be insulting or if it's going to be very like, wow, Rebecca knows me. So I'm excited to see. That's going to be funny. Awesome.
It's going to be a whole lot of both.
Yeah, and you got to go and watch Deranged and Conquering. Deranged and Questing. Sorry, Deranged and Questing. Go check it out. Just go watch my episode. That's all you need. No, I'm kidding. All right. Well, Andy, James, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
really appreciate you. Remember, look him up on Amazon. That's JMD Reid, as in go read his books. That is it for the Fantasy Fiends show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're on Twitch, remember to hit that follow button. And if you're on YouTube and you want to help us out, share this. We really, really appreciate it. And hit that like button. Comments are also really good for the algorithm. We love you all, and we will see you next week. Remember to tune in on Monday.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. I miss you so much already.